This is Coda Radio, episode 294 for January 29th, 2018. Hi everyone, and welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and its related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining me every single week via the power and magic of the internet, why yes, it's our host, Mr. Michael Dominic. Hello, Mike!
Jar Jar, I am not.
No, I guess not, actually. You know, it still works. Now I'm just a laughing fool in a hotel lobby right now. I'm live in Seattle, and I did not see that one coming. Alone. No, in fact, our good buddy, Mr. Noah Chalai is here. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good. In fact, I'm really glad you're here because you made this live setup possible.
Yeah, here's the thing. First thing I told you when I got to Jupiter Broadcasting is said, we talk about a couple different things, but I've become the studio engineer, more or less. If we go outside to do something, if it's a remote broadcast,
that's true.
I'm starting to feel like that's the only reason I get invited along.
Solve this for me. Solve this, Noah. Yeah, we're live at a Canonical, what they call a Snap Sprint. So they have about like 50 Canonical employees here and a bunch of industry partners, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. They're all here working on solving different packaging problems for Linux and other OSs as well, actually. So I'll talk more about that because there's several companies that are relevant to this here podcast that are here and joining us, and there's actually lots to get into. But we have a full show. Even though we're here live in Seattle, we have a full show. Noah's here. He's going to join us for a special topic later on. I feel good, Mike. It's good to be connected with you outside the studio. We don't do this very often.
I know, to see you in your natural snapping habitat.
So I stepped in last week on the show. Last week, I was trying to figure out this new PowerShell release for Mac, Linux, and Windows, open source. It seems like a major strategy shift. Oh, in fact, I even argued it was a bit of a doubling down on a strategy. And we got some good feedback on our PowerShell segment, including an email from a technology fellow at Microsoft, first name of Jeffrey, who invited us to actually go down there and do an interview on location and see how that works. Man, it's lunchtime. All these guys. Oh, yeah? Okay. All right. After we get done podcasting, we'll come join you guys for lunch. We started our show right at lunchtime. What kind of amateurs are we?
Nice job there. Nice.
So we might end up down at the Microsoft campus getting it directly from the horse's mouth on what they're doing with PowerShell and see how that works out. But in the meantime, we do have an email that came into the show on the topic that I'm going to throw in your faces because it's a pretty good email. Mike, did you see this guy's name? I didn't grab the...
his name is actually Chris. Yeah, his name is also Chris.
Oh, yeah. That's hard for me to remember. Chris wrote in and said, Mr. Michael Dominic, he asked me on Discord to write in, so I'm taking him up on that. Hey, look at that. That's nice. He says, I'm far from an expert, but we have done some cool things. In recent versions of Windows Server 2012 R2 and 2016, everything you do in the GUI is working in PowerShell behind the scenes. When you add a new role or feature to a server environment, a lot of times you can export the template into a PS1 file and then run it later to automate the process. We've used this often for new forests or domains, especially when spinning up an RODC or a file server for a new branch. However, when new management began preaching the DevOps movement, we started using a lot of Windows forms to complete our work, with new server rollouts and new domain controllers, etc. We worked with the development team to create sysadmin forms, quote-unquote, that anyone could use so HR could spin up a new server for a workday. Well, at least hypothetically, of course. I don't think anyone in HR actually ever did that, he says. I know, but it's such a cool idea. The HR person could spin up a server. Anyways, he says they used systemmanagement.automation and systemcollections.objectmodel. Those were the two libraries, and with those the developers were creating PowerShell objects and instances, collaborating with the sysops teams to set up the proper cmdlets and command functions and implement templates for various tasks. At the time, we were doing this in a Windows bare metal or Windows virtual machines on OS X. But with the current state of PowerShell and Visual Studio on Mac, I don't know if this will be as functional as it was in a pure Windows environment. But there are but there were days when I wished I could just run the forms or use PowerShell in OS X. I think if Microsoft keeps its momentum going, it will be incredibly convenient to engineers in a more sysops DevOps role, rather than having to convert a whole slew of users to .NET. Anyways, I appreciate you asking for feedback on this. I love what you guys do, from Coda Radio to TechSnap. Those are my 2 top shows in my feed right now. I'm sure Ask Noah's in there too. He said, I've said before, but the JB platform has provided the inspiration for me to dig deeper into my career and do what I do and use Linux every day. Thanks to you both and to the rest of the team for the outstanding job you do. That is sort of echoes other feedback I got, Mike, where it was about now using these tools that we've had for a very long time on Linux and being able to automate the setting up of Windows machines from a Linux box. That's all. Yeah.
Yes, it does seem like there's a small yet passionate subset of our listenership that is deep into the PowerShell.
Yeah, actually, when I put myself in the mindset, when I used to be trapped in an environment where I had to use Windows when I really wanted, it's funny, if I was there now, it would be less trying. But back then, I was desperately trying to use Linux for everything, all the time, constantly. And I just was stuck managing systems on Windows boxes. And I would have killed for a way to easily SSH into a Windows box or easily script something, from my Linux machine. So I totally see where these guys are coming from. And maybe I'll learn more if I go down to Microsoft. Yeah. And I take Mr. Jeffrey up on his offer to get it from the horse's mouth. We'll do a live show from there.
Thank you.
All right, Mike. This next story, it's a little much for me. It's packed full of jargon, but I do see where they're going. It's the rise of the full-stack freelancer, a portfolio approach to modern work. What do you think that means?
I think it means that the PR guy earned his paycheck that week. That's what I think.
I mean, I guess what it's saying is jack of all trades is becoming the norm.
Yeah, I put this one in the doc because it's just so ridiculous that it actually rings true to me. We have a lot of people who write in about contracting and freelancing. And this fellow, the author of this article, is basically trying to redefine this quote-unquote full-stack freelancer as almost being like a self-contained business of one, which, maybe I'm an old fogey, I would just call that a contractor. But it definitely, he makes some good points, right, about all these, we talked about, what's that, it helps if I can remember stuff. But that AI platform that hooks up developers and designers and makes ad hoc teams based on
profiles. Right. Yeah. I forget the name
like too. That where you kind of actually don't have to have your own sales guy or be your own sales guy. Just sign up for the platform, pay them a commission, and they will, sure enough, bring a team together. And if you can do it yourself, or let's say you're a full stack iOS and Rails developer, you theoretically can be a dev shop of one. It's a little bit of hyperbole in this article, but I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Gigster was the name of that company.
Yes. Good call. I'll tell you what the part that rang true to me in the article is I don't like where I get hung up on is the terminology. But if I forget about the terminology for a second, and this part did ring true with me, full stack freelancers are responding to a series of technology-driven trends. Contingent employment, intensifying globalization, and automation. By taking advantage of the other side of the coin, technology finally becoming powerful enough, cheap enough, and user-friendly enough to be deployed productively by a single individual. So it is sort of like making the best out of this nonstop trend towards automation, outsourcing, and what they call contingent employment, which is short-term work. These are all modern realities now. And so it is sort of like taking that situation and making lemonade out of it and calling yourself like a business of one full stack freelancer who's, I'm like a rogue who gets dropped into the data center and via a rope and I solve the problem and I work there for 6 months or 3 months and then I'm out.
Right.
And instead of that being the worst thing ever, because back in my day we had jobs for 50 years and we got grandfather clocks when we retired.
Yeah.
Now it's you go work there for 3 months, but it's another way of romanticizing it.
Right.
It kind of does ring true with me though in a way.
Sure.
Yeah, you work in that business,
all the time.
But you are more long-term clients. Well, you're not really like the 3-monthers, right?
Yeah, so we do. Sure, especially subcontracts, right? Like most of our, in fact, all of our subcontracts to date are there's a start time, there's an end time, and we work for 6 months, sometimes a year, to get a given thing done. But that's it. So yeah, we're definitely doing short stints like that.
Do you find that you is that hard to predict business around?
Very. The biggest challenge, right, is going into that environment and trying to learn all the environmental variables.
Yeah, get up to speed.
Yeah, before you can actually start doing the work, and then get the work done and get out of there and still stay on schedule.
That makes sense. Yeah, I actually, I don't know. I wanted to hate it, but then I ended up kind of making sense to me.
Sure.
Hey, you know what, Mike? I was thinking before we move on, unless you have any more you want to say, we had something to mention in this week's show, a discount code for the O'Reilly conference that's coming up. Should we? You want to mention that right now, before we forget? Because I just remembered.
Yeah, we should.
So there's a discount code. It's PC Coder for 20% off gold, silver, and bronze passes at what's the name of the O'Reilly event that's going on that you're going to? By the way, Mike's going to an O'Reilly event, the Software Architecture Conference in February. Yeah, February 25th through the 26th. See, I'm catching up. In New York, it's the subheadline, Engineering the Future of Software. February 25th through the 26th for training, and then the 26th through the 28th for the conference itself. And if you're interested in going, you want to meet up with Mike too, perhaps. If you use the promo code PCCoder, one word, you'll get 20% off. And I guess that's just something because they're fans of the show. There's not,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And Mike's going to another freaking event.
I've got the community flu.
You will. You will get the community
No,
flu.
I know.
I'm working on that right now myself, actually. Noah's got a strategy for these things.
I do. My right hand is my shaking hand. My left hand is anything I got to eat or touch my face or anything
Scratch.
like that.
Yeah. That's a good idea. That's a good way to do it. I've been like OCD about washing my hands.
Oh, really?
I got over being sick just last week, so I really am hoping to avoid it.
Yeah.
But if you're in the New York area and you want to go to a fast-paced and practical O'Reilly Software Architecture Conference, which I've never been to one of those, that could be pretty cool. The pricing is, it's industry pricing, so it's kind of nice to get 20% off because that can be nice. Yeah. The different passes, the gold pass and the silver pass, are up there in price, but the bronze pass with 20% off, especially if your work's paying for it, it's a pretty good deal for those kind of events. So that's neat. I don't really have a URL for you, other than you just go Google that, but check that out. All right. Well, why don't we keep going? I'd like to talk about the event. I'd like to talk about Mike's new hardware. I'd like to talk about some workflow stuff. That's why Noah's here. So let's take a moment and thank DigitalOcean for getting us this far into the show, making this show possible, making it possible for me to sit here at this canonical event and spy and get all of the secrets and learn all of the dirty tricks that they've got up their sleeve and share them with you guys.
So you can air out the dirty laundry.
Yep. So thank you to DigitalOcean for making that possible. Actually, quite literally, we're using DigitalOcean right now to in several different ways.
In multiple ways.
To make this stream possible. And it's just great infrastructure that's super fast on demand as you need it. They make managing infrastructure so easy that whether you're brand new or a pro, you'll be able to take advantage of DigitalOcean's infrastructure. It gets out of your way. It gives you the tools you need. They have a straightforward API that's well documented if you want to go that route. It's secure and reliable. I've been using them for years, 99.99% uptime and predictable pricing. This is a huge one for me. I know exactly how much DigitalOcean is going to cost me, and they've just recently restructured their pricing so it's even more competitive. They have a new $15 a month rig, 3 gigs of RAM, which is remarkable. You can get 3 CPUs and 60 gigabytes of SSD storage. Now, my favorite system is 3 cents an hour, 4 gigs of RAM, 2 CPUs, and 80 gigabytes of SSD. Everything is SSDs. I love that about DigitalOcean. And if you use our promo code CODERDIGITAL, you get a $10 credit. You sign up, you use the promo code CODERDIGITAL, you get the $10 credit. You could try out like their $5 rig, 2 months, absolutely free, nothing out of your pocket. It applies a $10 promo balance to your account. You don't even have to attach a credit card. You just fire up the machine, start building something. They have completely, totally assembled application stacks ready to go. Or you can do what my favorite one is just deploy a base LTS rig, throw Docker on there, and just start throwing stuff through Docker and just get to work right away. It's nice. You can add more storage as you need it. 40 gigabit connections coming into the hypervisors, data centers all over the world. DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code CODERDIGITAL. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this here Coder Radio program. DigitalOcean.com. Promo code CODERDIGITAL. One word. So here we are. We're at the, is it the Hilton, Noah? Is it a Hilton hotel?
Yeah, it is.
So we're here at one of these Hiltons, and we're on the floor that they have sort of built out for businesses, and we're at a Canonical Snap event. And they have several rooms here. They have, I think, 3 or 4 rooms, plus a dining area, and then they have, of course, about 50, 60 people they're putting in rooms here. Mm-hmm. So it's, as far as Canonical events go, it's sort of a smaller scale event, but it's
Sure.
very hand-picked people.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not open to the general public. It's not like a conference that anyone can go to. It's more or less a Canonical work meeting that they just happen to are holding at a hotel.
Yeah. And so I'll give you an example of some of the people that are here. So representative from Slack is here. Microsoft Azure, Electron Builder, the .NET team, Skype. So several Microsoft folks are here. Also TypeScript folks are here, and PowerShell folks are here. And Visual Studio Code.
They had to come a long way, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why it's here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Is because, they're bringing a lot of people from Microsoft, and it's right across the street. Yeah. And then my couple of favorites, not that those ones aren't great, is JetBrains also has a rep here, and Plex. Mm-hmm. So I had a...
Yeah, we had dinner with the Plex guy last night.
That was
we got
fun.
to sit down and chat with him.
That was really interesting. Really interesting to talk to the Plex guy for a bit last night. So there's a lot of different companies here. And then, of course, there's individuals from different areas of Canonical that are responsible for different tasks. And they're doing something that you don't see happen very often in open source. And it's this business-to-business outreach, where one business calls another business and says, we'd like to have some of your resources come to an event of ours that we're putting on, and we'll pay for everything. We'll put you up in a hotel. You come here and work with my staff, and we'll build whatever it is that we're trying to get to collaboratively together.
Right.
You don't really ever hear of Fedora doing that. You don't really ever hear of Debian doing that. You don't ever actually hear of any other big open source project really doing that. They have events, they have conferences. The mysterious Blue Systems, who's a KDE patron, they back in November did something similar to this, like a development sprint. Of course,
Right.
You see Elementary OS has done things like this, but this business to business, where I'm calling Slack, I'm calling Electron, I'm calling Microsoft several divisions, I'm calling up JetBrains, I'm calling up Plex, or I'm emailing them, right? And I'm saying, let's all get together, business to business, and do work.
Sit in one room
Yeah.
and bang things out with
Right.
all of us in the same room talking about it.
And the reason why I mention why that I think is interesting and different is it makes me wonder if it might be what it takes to make something like Snaps actually really gain traction.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Because it's a competitive level where they can integrate with other industry partners, and they can answer questions here in this room while they're physically together, and they do this every 6 months or so.
Right.
How does Flatpak, how does AppImage compete with that?
No, they don't. And and you said this offhandedly, and I think you're absolutely right. I think we're very quickly going to get to a point where you're going to have Windows EXEs, Mac DMGs, and Linux snaps.
What strikes me about that, and Mike and I have talked about this, is the story of how you target Linux for developers has not really been awesome for a long time. And one of the things that Mike and I were talking about ages ago with Unity 8 was, at least then Canonical has a story. You download this tool, you use this framework, you use this language, you publish to this store, you use this package format, and if you're new to publishing applications on the Linux desktop, you follow this boop-ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop step guide, and all of a sudden you've got your desktop Linux app published. And Snaps, I think, maybe are providing that chance. So what do you think, sort of from a removed, like somebody who might ship software on Linux standpoint of this? Do you think I'm onto something where it seems like Canonical has an advantage here?
Yeah, I mean, the issue for me would be how widely adopted are Snaps going to be by other distros. But assuming that's not a problem, then
right.
it looks like a really easy, really user and even developer-friendly way to package up software.
Yeah, I know they're working on that. You can essentially get Snap support to various degrees on different distros, and some distros have perfect Snap support.
Well, and one of the things that we have heard is that Canonical is looking for ways to enter at the point at which they are building the application. So, for example, they've made a lot of work so that they put a lot of work in so that when you have an Electron app, you add a single line of code, and you can then build a Snap from that Electron app.
Or Unity, they're working with the Unity folks, so it's like an export destination is a Snap package. It's just one of the export destinations. That would be big. Yeah, if you get it integrated at the tooling level, I think that would sort of sink the deal. So it's interesting being here, watching how Canonical works, watch how they how do you get an open source community to adopt something? And the advice, and I'm not saying they're doing this because of my advice, but the advice that I passed along to them very early on when they announced this is you've got to ship applications that matter. And so last week they announced Slack as a snap. This week they're going to announce another application that's pretty popular as a snap. It hasn't been announced yet, but it's coming. And I think you start getting enough of these headline applications that people know about in the industry and that people want to install.
Right.
And I think it's going to make a difference.
So here's an interesting idea, too. Could snaps potentially run on other platforms other than Linux?
Yeah, they're working on making them work on Mac and Windows right now.
So, in a lot of ways, that kind of solves a lot of the stuff that Electron tried to solve with maybe a little bit less of the performance.
I mean, you're going to snap up Electron apps is what you're going to do.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're not right. So your development platform still needs to be neutral, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the direction it's going. Like they were doing a little unofficial inventory last night. It's like, well, this is a Slack Electron app. This is an Electron app now. This is an Electron app now. And they have stats on this stuff too. So yeah, I know that Mike recently had a chance to install the Slack Snap.
Yes, I did.
Now, what are you doing? Because I thought according to last week's episode, you've thrown in the towel and you're just giving in and you're just going to stay on the MacBook. And now you're installing Snaps.
So I'm a sucker for a sale. I got a 38% off coupon from Dell, and I ordered myself an Optiplex. What is it, 7050?
Nice, yeah, the one with the i7 770 in it and 32 gigs of RAM.
Yep.
Ooh, that is going to be a sweet rig. And you're going to toss what on there?
So currently, I put 1710 on it.
Oh, you already have it? You already got it?
Oh, I already have it. It's on my desk. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I have the document.
Dang. So you have 1710 on there. So did you try Windows 10?
I installed it for about 10 minutes, and I got frustrated, and then I force-filled the computer, whipped in a USB drive, and paid what I paid.
Oh, no. So how's 1710 working out for you?
Pretty good. I'm having a little bit of weirdness. I had to install the AMD drivers.
Yeah.
Which was kind of annoying. Like, I could definitely see the advantage of going in with the Ubuntu version. Yeah. But all Dell will sell you is 1604. So, yeah.
And that has the Radeon R7 450 in there with 4 gigs of RAM, too. Nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty beefy machine all around.
Yeah, that'll last you a while, I think.
At least a week and a half.
Yeah, it seems like at least until probably at least till 2 episodes. And you did not Pop! OS, huh?
No, you know what? I ended up going with 1710. I'm really enjoying 1710. It's simple enough. And are you ready? Trademark.
Yeah.
It just works.
Good. So it's funny we're going to talk desktop workflows today because I had a bad weekend with GNOME. Crashed on me 4 times, and it just really kind of made me wonder, is this going to be viable for me? Because the issue is, this is all coming together because you and I, Mike, recently talked about using Wayland for your machine to help with your second monitor resolution problems. Well, the issue is that GNOME 3, when it crashes under Wayland, it is a dramatic crash because it is the display server, so your entire display stack under Wayland crashes when GNOME 3 crashes. And I've had GNOME 3 crashing on me a lot recently. So this has been I've been having a tough time with 1710 myself because this has been a bit of a problem for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to hear you're having some success. I recently actually this morning before the show formatted my computer. And
right before you started to go on air. That was
good timing.
Yeah.
It was good timing. And I put KDE Plasma on my machine. So I'm using the Plasma desktop now. I got off GNOME for a bit. I'm taking a break. GNOME and I are seeing other desktops for a bit. And I don't know, it's early days. We'll see. Maybe I'll try to convince you to switch in like 6 months after I've spent some time with it. But I went and got...
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is based on 1710. So it's roughly based on 1710. So that's, we're kind of along the same lines there. But how do you find the workflow?
I find it pretty good. The snaps make life a lot easier, actually. Because one of the things I don't like is that there's 5 damn ways to install things on Ubuntu. And a lot of the stuff I use, I have to add. So before I used to just use PPAs, right? On my Galago, everything is done with PPAs. which is fine. But eventually, I find over time I get it complaining about like this key is no longer valid. Or,
Yeah, or the URL's bad or something like that.
Right.
Yep.
The snaps seem like a much cleaner way. Like VS Code, like you mentioned, is in a snap. Slack is in a snap, so it's been running pretty well. The difference between 16 and 32 gigs of RAM is very, very obvious,
Oh yeah.
and it's making me very happy.
Do you run a lot of VMs?
I usually have to run a full Windows VM with like a Visual Studio and an IIS instance up.
Okay.
Yes, that would really help. That would, that is, if you're, oh boy, man, I'm excited for you. And after you got close to the iMac Pro too. Like I think you were flying pretty close to the sun there.
I was flying close, but it was like this Dell ended up costing, I think, with shipping and tax, like $1,900. The iMac Pro before shipping and tax was $5,000. So you could see the calculus that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. You could. Yeah, you could get another Dell in 6 months and be fine.
Well, I could do these 4 jobs, or I could not buy the computer that I would do these 4 jobs and just keep the money that I would spend on the computer to do these 4 jobs.
Yeah. All right. Well, so so good. So we got the new machine out of the way. I want to talk to you what I've been experimenting with, trying to dedicate certain types of workspaces to certain types of jobs. So one of the things I've been experimenting with recently is when I launch Firefox, it always opens on Workspace 1. When I launch Telegram, it always opens on Workspace 2. When I launch Slack, it always opens on Workspace 3. Terminal is always on Workspace 1. It's just a few things like that. And then on certain workspaces, I'm setting up tiling. So when I open up things on Workspace 3, they get tiled, for example.
Sure.
And that, combined with multiple monitors, I find has really been a pretty big improvement to my workflow because while I can't see everything on the virtual desktops, it's like because I know that the application's always open there, I know it's there in the back of my mind.
Right. Sure.
So it's sort of like I always have that state. And I've been I come in and out of this. I ebb and flow out of doing this, like getting my desktop super hyper customized, and then trying to keep it super stock.
Sure.
And so that way, I mean, the argument for keeping it stock, of course, is that I could just immediately load another machine and be good to go. But the argument I feel like for making it customized is that it's always like the perfect workflow machine for me.
Right. Yeah.
So this is so I'm going all in now on the customizing again, and I think what I'm gonna try to do is do some sort of configuration management or backup or something that I can use to move my config between machines, restore my config if something breaks, and I think it's just time for me to sort of, I don't know, see the configuration management light, and that could be something as simple as backing up my .dot files. I don't know exactly how I'll pull it off, but
C file.
Maybe
and have the home directory sync, man.
Maybe.
Tell you what.
Maybe. I could. I'd be willing to do that. I mean, that's fine too.
Yeah, that's what I do with that's how I'm doing KeyPass and password management and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, Windows 10 promises this settings sync across PCs thing, but it's pretty superficial. It's not really like I want like window positioning stuff and tiling stuff set and all that kind of thing. So I'm going all in. I'm probably gonna regret it. I tend to burn out when I do this, but I've just been really frustrated recently with stuff crashing and
and part of it
low
is you
performance.
don't have a good fallback, right? Like so for me, I've got my trusty Fedora machine that sits at my house, and so no matter what I'm doing, I'm on the laptop.
You have an
or
emergency.
Yeah, I always have like the machine that I do my core amount of work on, that I live on.
Your escape pod.
Yeah, my escape pod. That's my refuge. You don't have a refuge.
I know. I need a coding escape pod. I need like a broadcasting escape pod. I need like one for each type of job I do. Escape pod system. A dedicated escape pod PC. All right. Well, so Mike, what's your benchmark of success for a machine like this? Like, when do you say, okay, this was worth the investment?
So I've been doing a little bit with Apache OpenNLP, which is a Java-ish based natural language processing kind of machine learning library from the good folks at the Apache Foundation. Because I have a requirement for something to do a bunch of natural language processing locally. And compiling that in my Galago made it scream for bloody mercy. The Dell was like, okay, go make some tea and come back, and I'm fine, thanks. So I would say today was fine. Great. Got it Friday. The only issue I've had so far is the AMD card. It does seem a little unhappy. There is a weird situation where it seems like if the GPU kicks up, it was freaking out. Now, I ended up having to install a proprietary AMD driver, which was kind of annoying. from the AMD's website, the old evil manual way. And it seems to have stopped. It would be great if like the machine could just pick up and say, "Oh, there's a driver I could get you." I would have preferred.
Yes. Yeah, well, if there was a driver, it would, if it was built into the kernel. But that proprietary driver, yeah, that is always a problem. They're working on it. They're working on it.
Yeah, it's such a terrible install process is kind of my issue, though, right? It's like, here's a scary screen, and this might work. But once I got that down, it really is kind of cranking. I mean, it's black, which is nice. It looks like Darth Vader. And it's not $5,000. So, I mean, what else do you want?
You have to pay extra for that black in some cases.
Yeah.
Well,
it compiles my Java and my C#, because thanks to Microsoft's love of Linux now, just as fast as my Mac did, right?
Yeah,
or actually a lot faster. I take it back.
Yeah,
a lot faster.
Yeah. Good. I'm a little machine jealous because it's been a little while for me. I usually try to get one every 6 months or so, but it's been a while since I've had the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. The next one will be USB-C. I have no doubt.
Oh yeah. That is for laptops. The USB-C Life is a good thing.
You have to get that new XPS. I thought you had the new XPS.
I have a 5th generation XPS, and I broke the side of it recently, so it is a little extra busted now, and so my power port floats around inside the case a little bit.
That seems bad.
Yeah, I know. And Dell's supposedly going to send me a review unit of the new one, so that's going to be particularly hard to turn away.
Don't drop that one on your side. That one would not work out very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just shatter. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we go on, before we get to the Open Apache, Open NLP stuff, because that does sound super fascinating, I want to mention Linux Academy. linuxacademy.com/coders. Go there to support this here show and sign up for a free 7-day trial. And then pick your hands-on training category. They have stuff that is going to blow your mind. 1,200 hours of in-depth video contents, labs, flashcards, hands-on training for every topic. Linux, Google Cloud Platform, AWS, DevOps, OpenStack, Big Data, and Azure as well. Real hands-on stuff. They deploy in real environments. Scenario-based labs that give you hands-on training from anywhere at any time on any of these complicated technology solutions. And if you ever get stuck, they have real human beings that are ready to help. And if you go there now, you can get a little sense of that. linuxacademy.com/coders. Sign up for a free 7-day trial. Check out those hands-on labs. That's pretty cool. And if you got a busy schedule, try out their course scheduler. And then when you're ready to go get certifications, they have courses created specifically to prepare you for certification exams. linuxacademy.com/coders. Also, Noah's going to love this feature. Downloadable, comprehensive, offline study guides, notes, notebooks, and other tools. No internet connection required.
Media? Are you telling me it's local media?
Yep.
It's
local media
on my computer. I love it.
And if you do have connectivity while you're on the go, maybe you're on the bus, maybe you're on the tube, they have iOS and Android apps as well. linuxacademy.com/coders. Go there, sign up, and get a free 7-day trial. linuxacademy.com/coders, and support this show. Mike, have you heard of the Mozilla's Common Voice project as well? That's kind of doing some of this natural language processing stuff too. I don't know if it's similar to Apache exactly, but they're working on also sort of opening up a data set of natural language and whatnot.
Yeah, I heard of it. I haven't done anything with it. It's very, very similar from what I've heard, with the difference being that the Apache one is actually offline.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. So you can take that and you can download all of that. That is really nice.
Yeah.
Now, what use case do you have to be offline for something like this, though? Not to reveal behind the curtain too much, but that's not what I expected you to say.
So let's say, because normally I would use the Microsoft Lewis engine, right? So let's say you're a person who may be in a remote region and you don't want to have a signal going out. You would want something offline. Or more, yeah, right. So you're in the desert, right? Or you're stranded on an island, or you're, frankly, in most of Florida. You have no connectivity.
Yeah, fair enough. And so what? So you can do. You can analyze with this, right? You can get parts of speech out. You can get named entities out of this. This sounds like it'll even do language detection, like what language you're speaking. This is like powerful stuff they're giving away here.
Yeah, it's like a lot of these things, its most powerful language right now is English. The way it would basically work is you set up your entities beforehand, and you might say like maps might be something you're doing, right, or directions or whatever, and your application code would just deal with those entities and intents, and that's it. The challenge is if you're not running this with a connection, you're of course always having to update to get advantages, right? So like a cognitive service like Lewis constantly is being updated and improved. Something like this, you would have to actually update your binary.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
If you were running it with no connection, right?
Yeah. Huh. So Apache's goal here with the OpenNLP project is to create a mature toolkit for all of that, like part of speech tagging, named entity extraction. They're creating a toolkit for people to grab and do this. And I suppose in a way it's either this or 2 or 3 companies that offer this, right? It's like there's not a lot of other options here, unless I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, there are some proprietary options too, and I know Mozilla has something like you mentioned, but I kind of am partial to Apache because they tend to not release crap. Not that Mozilla does. I'm just saying, it's a stamp of approval for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just not interested in a proprietary solution. The other kind of problem, you talk about strategy tax a lot. Like with Lewis and with Google's alternative to this, they're all trying to sell you web services. So if you actually have a requirement that says no connection to the outside, well, you're in direct conflict with their strategy tax and you can't do it.
Yeah, that is the problem with that. The strategy tax or the just dragging priorities around by the latest marketing thing. So you're going to build this into like a Coder Radio Alexa skill app? Is that what the plan is here?
Well, in the case, actually, there is a Coder Radio Alexa skill app that should.
How is there? Is that? Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's continuing, huh?
Yeah. That's continuing. It's on a dirty little Lambda though. So
okay, well that's all right. I mean that's apropos for the show content. So I like that.
But no, that is not using this, right? Because actually the Alexa SDK has its own NLP built in.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, will you guys be building a home pod?
A HomePod thing?
HomePod?
No, you just use AirPlay
No.
on your phone. No.
Not yet. In fact, to my and Chris is the HomePod guy. He's the Apple fan. To my knowledge, there's no HomePod SDK access anyway. So
I don't think so. No, no, not yet. There's Siri stuff that you can do that like is related, but I think a lot like the watch, most of the HomePod processing is done on the phone. It's like the heavy lifting's on the phone, like Siri on the phone, connectivity on the phone.
Yeah, I think it's even more locked down though. My understanding is you can just like send content from your phone to the HomePod. Like there's no custom. Like at least the watch had an SDK. It was a crappy SDK when it first came out, but it had one, right?
Yeah. How's the skill stuff going? That hasn't burned you out? I mean, when I looked at that, it seemed like there was a million choices to make.
The skill stuff is pretty good. Well,
maybe we should do a show on it sometime.
We should do a show on it because there's so much there, and there's so many different companies trying to lock you into their platform, which is kind of annoying. That trying to navigate that has been a little challenging.
Yeah. Well, I guess
but how's
now.
HomePod?
First of all, you bastard. Second of all, they're not shipping.
What color did you get? That's the most important thing. What color?
I got black.
Well, of course.
I got black. The thing is I actually think this may be one of the few devices, and no one knows this to be true. I very, very, very rarely return stuff.
Have you ever returned anything in your life?
A couple times.
Really?
This may be like the number 3 time. Okay, yeah. Right. I find like
that HDMI cable though.
Yeah. No, not an HDMI. No, that's still sitting around too.
I know it is.
The thing is I've been living a secret life of a Siri defender, and I haven't been open about it. But the truth is that having several devices with the Google Assistant, having more Echo Dots than any rational person should in a small space, and having Siri on my wrist and in my pocket, the functionality that I use is location-based reminders and notes and to-dos. Mm-hmm. And then I'd like to get this. The secondary things I like to get is weather and news reports. Mm-hmm. And in all of those particular use cases, Siri is better. It's better at location-based reminders. It's better when I say, if I say, what's the temperature? It says, the temperature is 43 degrees. It doesn't give me a paragraph of, today, the forecast will consist of,
Yeah.
and it goes in for a whole paragraph on both the other two assistants.
Sure.
And if I ask Siri, what's the wind speed? It starts with the wind speed.
Yeah.
It starts with the thing I asked it.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. And same with location. When I say, when I get to the studio, remind me.
Yeah.
When I get home, remind me.
Right.
And those are things that the Echo can't do. The only thing I can
Right.
do with the Echo is set time-based reminders,
Yeah.
and then it just blasts me everywhere.
Right.
And so that combined with the fact that for Hidea, music is the primary function of these devices.
Sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It seems like it has the potential to be one of those things that you buy once and then they don't update for 3 years, although they'll do it via software. But I would expect them to update it over software. And so if they do that...
I have lots of problems with this purchase, Chris. I don't know.
It's okay. Me too.
No,
Harvard triggered.
Just the audio side of it being a mono speaker. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's that.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I have a problem anytime we take a protocol that was designed to connect your keyboards and mice to your computer, and then we try to funnel audio over it. I think is ridiculous.
It's not using Bluetooth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's using AirPlay, which is
good.
which can be all sorts of different things.
all kinds of flaky, yeah.
Or it plays directly, right? So they put a
You're still pulling a stream in over the internet.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but it's it's 192 kilobit AAC, so that's not bad, and it can also do FLACs.
yeah. When you play, first time you play a FLAC, go ahead and take a picture and send it to me. I mean, nobody's doing that, right? I mean, that's just kind of.
But they put the way it works is, and this isn't something I do, but if you use this service called iTunes Match, it uploads
God.
it uploads all the crap you have up to the cloud, and it includes like FLAC files and WAV files. And if
Oh,
you've
really?
uploaded that, it'll stream those to it.
Oh, no kidding.
They put like an iPhone 6 or 6S in the HomePod, CPU
Okay.
and system-wise, like the whole
Gotcha.
system on a chip is.
Sure.
It's like having a 6S in there. So I think they're going to do something with all of that processing power, but I don't know. As long as it plays podcasts, plays music, and does all the other things I mentioned assistant-wise,
Yeah. Then it can do everything that all the other Home Assistants can
basically,
do.
that I need it to.
For
It
more
doesn't have-
money.
but it doesn't have the
You can't
skill.
get-
Right. There's no Mike writing a Coda Radio skill for it.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's going to suck.
Yeah.
But
Well, how could it not suck? I mean, without me, of course.
right.
That's my metric if I buy a device or not. Can I get Coda Radio on it?
That's
But the thing is I have really spent an extensive amount of time figuring out how to automate things with the Alexa and with the assistant, and so. I mean, I'm already like pretty well versed on all this stuff. It just feels like it's worth trying it out, just so I have a pretty round comparison to make.
So the HomePod does have like one primary feature for like developers, right? It is effectively your hub for if you're doing Apple HomeKit automation.
Right.
Are you doing a lot of that? Like,
Yeah, I do.
you are with
Yeah.
HomeKit. Okay.
Yeah, everything I have is both Echo supportable and HomeKit supportable. So everything I bought, I made sure it supports both protocols. But the nice thing about HomeKit is that it is as fast as hitting a light switch, and it works without an internet connection, which is also a big win for me because I'm often without an internet connection, and the Echo's so worthless it can't even give you the time. Like it can't even. It just says sorry, and it doesn't even try to do anything.
Well, it probably can't transcribe what you're saying, to be honest. It probably
Right.
doesn't even know what you're telling.
Right, it just knows it
Yeah.
was woken.
Right. it
Yeah.
doesn't understand.
Yeah, whereas with HomeKit, I can still control all my lights and my heaters and my water sensors and all of that through.
So
that
did
is-
you ever give the Googs a shot here?
So I have the assistant built into the NVIDIA Shield TV, which I have a couple of those, and then I also have it on my Nexus 6P, and one other device has the assistant. I don't recall.
I know you
at the
don't have a
moment.
home, right? Because we did the home.
Yeah, I didn't because I have the assistant on so many other things.
Right.
Well,
You
isn't
know?
that the kind of same argument? Couldn't you make the same argument with Siri, though? Like,
Well, I'm hoping, and we'll see, that there's something uniquely different about Siri and a LadyTube
but there for sure is not something uniquely different about the Google Home thing.
assistant. Well, what I mean by that is I suspect there will be functionality that does not exist on the mobile device that does exist.
I see.
Whereas that the functionality is parity between
Sure.
assistant. Have you tried it on your Shield?
No, I don't use that stuff.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
It's not bad. One of the things I do like about it is you can tell it to, hey, I just want to watch this show, and it will search across multiple services and tell you, like, you can watch it here for free, you can watch it here for $2.99. That's kind of.
So you got all that stuff disabled.
Yeah.
TV.
I entered into this. I mean, if you guys recall, I entered into this being like super skeptical pants about this entire product category, and I thought this. And the only reason I even got an Echo is because they had it on sale, and I'm like, well, if I'm shitting on this thing all the time,
Yeah.
I should probably put my money where my mouth is and try it out. I mean,
Yeah.
let's see how it is.
I should
and
tell them
then
they suck for a reason. Yes.
right. But then what I realized is that I'm a busy SOB and I'm doing stuff all the time, and I love having the control of my devices when I have my hands full.
Yeah.
And when I'm like, so when I'm setting up at the center console in the studio, I'm turning on lights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Pausing and playing media playback.
So, but don't you feel like this is the exact type of platform Apple would charge you a lot of money for and then let die on the vine?
And under deliver. It's going to be like an Apple TV 2.0, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Only the requirements of a speaker are it's a speaker.
But
It's not like there's
going
going
to speaker though.
See, see the thing that pushed me over the edge is I read about 3 reviews that have come out in the last couple of days, and one of the guys is a super well respected audiophile, and he came away really impressed by it. Now I'm not saying
Really?
I'm just saying, anyone, you don't use audiophile and a single little speaker. That's
maybe you should hear it. Maybe you should hear it and find out. They will. You can, if you want to spend $700, buy 2 of them. And then they'll stereo pair up in a couple of months.
Even
Or
still,
you
I
can just,
mean,
buy a Sonos.
a real stereo, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
With the woofer.
Well, so what the thing that seems like the most practical approach to me would be if you want a smart speaker, is get a $30 dot and hook it up to
Right.
just whatever speakers, like
Right.
maybe your home sound system or
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
Sonos
that-
5
but-
dot.
Yes, the Play 5. Oh my
Yeah.
god. So you want to talk about a speaker that sounds good?
No,
Yeah.
I think the HomePod's going to beat the Sonos 5.
No way.
Really?
No way. The
All right.
Play
Maybe.
5? No way.
I mean, I've only heard it.
No
I've
way.
only heard it in stores, so I could be wrong.
You know that particular establishment we were at the other night? Mm-hmm. The entire store is powered by a Play 5.
Really?
So what sounds like there's a bunch of speakers and a woofer
Really?
is a
Well, that's
single
pretty-
Play 5. I mean, the Sonos, when we install a ton of Sonos stuff, everything from the sound bars to those individual speakers, and even those, I will tell you that again, you're not going to meet an audiophile that's going to be like, that's amazing sound.
Right,
It's
yeah.
good for a single speaker.
Yeah, within context. Yeah, I agree. I don't think he was saying it was like going to beat. In fact, he even said that in his review. He says it's not going to beat these systems or these systems or these systems, obviously.
any stereos.
But what he said is that which surprised me, and it was surprised him, is he moved around the room and couldn't find the non-sweet spot of the audio. Like he just
Yeah.
said, around the entire room, it sounded incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, Apple, they own Beats, right, which suck, but sound good enough to to justify a higher price tag.
See, this is why I bought it, because you guys are completely skeptical, and you know what? Everybody thought Face ID was going to be a total train wreck. Everybody thought
Still
that the
think so.
iPhone.
Yeah.
So, but I still think it's
Really?
Well, here's the thing.
Everybody,
I don't own it, so
everybody
I'm
who has
biased.
seen it here at the conference that hasn't seen it before is the first thing that blows everybody away is the fact that the notifications reveal themselves once it unlocks. But the moment I get a phone call and I look at my phone and it turns the volume down by 70%, people
Yeah.
go, "Wow, that is amazing." There's a little things in there that are really nice once your phone recognizes you're looking at it.
Yeah, but it would be fine if it was an addition to the fingerprint scanner, but they took that away.
Yeah,
to
I
me,
can see
that's
that.
like.
You have both. Why not have both?
Well, I do on
Yeah.
my Samsung, but
Yeah, but that's not Face ID.
well,
That's
they don't call it Face ID.
No,
it's the same thing.
No, it's not
It's the same thing.
It is,
It's the same
You
thing,
should
dude.
Google that before you say that. It is not the same thing. There's,
Okay, I don't know how it technically
this-
works underneath, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is I can look at the phone and the camera
Oh, well, yeah,
takes
yeah,
things
yeah.
based on.
Yeah, that's a crap Face ID system. That's the problem.
It's not Face ID. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Well,
Mommy and
I
Daddy
do
are
Face
fighting again.
He's just upset because I pre-ordered a HomePod. That's all. He'll get over it. Once I return it, he'll be elated.
I'll go buy one.
I return it and he'll be elated. So it's a roller coaster of emotions for him right now.
Wow.
Well, Mr. Dominic, is there anything else we want to cover before we wrap up here at the event?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'll
I'll
do next week.
I'll go around. I'll spread the good word about Coda Radio to everybody. I'll tell everybody to tune into the show, and I'll just be here. I'll be our promotion man while I'm here. Might as well make the best of it, right? All right, Mr. Dominic. Well, why don't you give people a few plugs for where they can find you, or maybe the business throughout the week before we get out of here?
Good. Follow at Dominico on Twitter and listen to the Ask Noah show, which has much better intro music than this one.
Now wait a minute.
Yeah.
Ronald Jenkins is a classic.
I love Ronald
appreciate-
Yankees.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Astro Show will be live tomorrow. At 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, right after Linux Unplugged, it's going to be a Linux sandwich, and we're going to try to do the whole dang thing live from this canonical event on battery power. So we'll see if we pull all that off, because we used about half the battery for this episode. So But you can follow me. I'm at Chris Elias. The whole network is at Jupiter Signal. And, of course, the Coda Radio program is at Coda Radio Show on the Twitters. Go over there, follow that account. You know, we're going to eventually, when I'm not moving around and doing crazy stuff, we're going to eventually do a Q&A over there as well. And, of course, the subreddit over at codaradio.reddit.com. codaradio.reddit.com. And last but not least, we'd love your feedback at jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. Send in your feedback to the show. We'll answer it in a future edition of the Coda Radio program. Mr. Noah, is there anything else we want to mention before we get out of here?
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us. I look forward to doing more podcasts with you.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you right back here next week on the Coda Radio program.